probably by far the most famous BMW of the 1980s, and it is the M5 E28i, also known as the 5 Series E28 series. This is the best BMW I have ever seen in my life, and in fact, the BMW E28i M5 series is the best looking BMW to come out of the mid 1980s. Today we are diving into the whole background of this late famous 1980s BMW. I want to share my thoughts of the BMW M5 E28i. The E28i is part of the M5 series sedan, and it is by far the most well looked BMW ever made. Known for its practicality and luxuriousness, this BMW is by far the most goated 1980s BMW I have ever seen in my life. Although this is just the beginning of the BMW M5 E28, the E28i is by far the most successful BMW that has been engineered since the late 1980s. What I love about the BMW E28i is that it wasn't just old school, it was basically the last raw looking BMW I have ever come up with. And in fact, what I love about this 1980s BMW is how good it looks. I mean, the E28i may be the last real BMW to come out of the 80s, but judging how by its design is made, it's just purely that good. I mean, just look how boxy it looks. I mean, this is what cars used to be in the 1980s and the 1970s. All just boxy and old school charming. The way how I see everything about the BMW 5 Series E28i is just phenomenal. Known for its famous inline 6-cylinder engine, this BMW is just purely a sports car meant for the street and for family rides. The long-lasting impression of the BMW E28 is just phenomenal. Known for its practicality as a luxury sedan, but what people don't actually understand is that the BMW E28i is just the most well-known BMW to come out of the 1980s. I mean, just look how simple it just looks. It feels like something that came out of the 1980s before BMW was all about luxury and performance, and they still are. The BMW 5 Series E28i is just the most BMW that I have ever noticed in my life. The E28i M5 series is just by far the most underdog BMW series ever made. Judging by how its design was made and how it was built, is just purely phenomenal and nostalgic. The way how I see everything about this BMW is just many people assume that this was the real M5 series of the 1980s before the M5 was just about, being stylized between Mercedes-Benz and Lexus or whatever. But ever since I laid my eyes on the E28i on the screen for the very first time, I really had to talk about it. The E28i is just the BMW that I never seen in real life. Although mostly on TV, many people still talk about this car ever since the very beginnings of the 1980s BMW era. And this 1980s BMW sedan is just by far the most beautiful car that I've ever imagined. This BMW really feels like a 1980s car. It really is. Although it's not really the most overstyled look of a vehicle, but this car is just absolutely adoring. That iconic round headlight design is just what makes BMW, well, BMW. Before In the 1960s and 1970s, all of these BMWs just use round headlights instead of that classic narrow-eyed headlight shape. The friendliness on the design of the round headlights just make BMW part of its character. The BMW E28i has got to be the most beautiful Toyota counterpart that has ever been released to the world. And in fact, this thing could even outdate a Mitsubishi Galant or so, even though it was just made in the 80s. The BMW E28i is just the ultimate BMW sedan that I have ever been proving to show you. And what I obviously know about the BMW E28i is that despite being only a few years of production for almost 34 years, this BMW is the pinnacle of the BMW era that ever came out to my mind, and it is just phenomenal. I mean, this classic car is all boxy and cool. Boxy and cool just makes the perfect sentence for a 1980s car as good as this. The BMW E28 5 Series is by the most BMW ever seen in the entire history of the automobile. And what I obviously appreciate about it is just purely just how its nostalgia really blends in with its character. And that is my thoughts on the BMW E28i, also known as the 5 Series E28i.